Ai, te tuatahi tēnā koutou katoa, kua tae mai tēnei pō ki te whakanui i te kaupapa o te rā, whakawhiti whakaro. Rachel, you were keen to get a directorship in the fishing industry. I thought I might have helped you, but now I realise what I've got myself into. No, don't ring me for that directorship. Martin, tēnā koe, Craig, folks, thanks for turning out. I didn't want to start first, but they said, well, Jonesy, you're an MP. You're already unpopular, number one. Number two, you couldn't possibly get in the shit like you have before on one night. So, look, folks, I've just focused on a little bit about what it's like to be a parliamentarian and engage with what, in my life, obviously, I spent a lot of time in the Māori world as well as in Parliament, and food and fellowship is a medium where we try and practice our art. So really this is, at one level, a wee bit about myself, but it's really about the craft of being a parliamentarian and also the context with which we find ourselves, where more often than not, we are on the receiving end not only of your adulation, but of humiliation. The name of my presentation is the Puku of Parliament. And for those of you who are learning your Māori language, the puku is somewhere between the breast and the lower part of the anatomy. Okay, all right, let's start. Well, I'm from Kaitaia, the 90-mile beach, and the proud mokopuna of my tupuna. And on one side is my tupuna who came from Melini, a little coastal village near Dubrovnik. And he bought and left with me the ability to imbibe copious quantities of red wine. And that is Auntie Helen, and what you actually learn there is that one way to make an impression is to use seafood. One side has a man that no one remembers, and the other side has Philip Field, and everyone wants to forget him. And that's me in my red hat, endeavouring to show Helen Clark, despite what they say me, I love the Labour Party. Yeah, well, in Awanui, when we have Christmas, we do home kill. They are occasionally captain cookers, but that's just to show that I'm capable of using a knife, not only politically, but to feed the whānau. And behind me is, well, talking about porkies, that's when I was in the shit, cleared of all charges. Some may think that's evidence that pigs can fly. But you may or may not realise that some grossly unkind things have been said about me in my 6.5, 7 years in politics, and that's a reminder that I need vanishing cream under that chin of mine. Oh, yeah. And, you know, that just goes to show that the media can be cruel, and social media crawls all over politicians. There was a recent gale that went through the Labour Party, and 1 or 3 unkind things were said and attributed to me. But as you can see, none of those guys have a problem with their weight, which is why it's a bullshit. Now, Parekura Horumi, a dear friend of mine, this is when I said to him, bro, Jenny Craig is not your blind date. A great man who featured up and down on all our maraes throughout New Zealand, sadly missed, etc., but he always left you feeling really good. Now, this is actually us at his gravesite, and of course, as we were there, Annette King told me, Shane, I've heard trumpets, I've heard singing, I've heard angels, I've heard weeping. And what was it, Auntie Annette? And she said, it was God saying to St. Peter, what the hell's the noise? And she said, St. Peter said, it's Parekura, what's the calamity then? Oh, it's the first time we've had a politician. Actually, I got to read this one out. This is me over with Mike Moore. And basically, when you go to Congress, they've got a soup. Dried navy beans, 4.5 litres of hot water, 1 kilo of smoked ham, 1 onion, 2 tablespoons of butter, salt and pepper to your taste. I had that. It's the sort of thing you taste but do not swallow when you go to Washington. Actually, I went to Sri Lanka, and the nurse who was looking after me, she said to me, welcome to our country, you're an MP. When you're here, look after your health. Be careful what you eat. If you get crook, then I can treat you. I took one look at their hospital, and she said, oh, the leaves come from the jungle. You can run into the jungle and fend for yourself. There's a snapper ban on at the moment to move away from a man ban. I took my friend Clayton Cosgrove up north, and we met a couple of guys who are concerned that Kiwis are going to be reduced in my neck of the woods to only 3 snapper. It probably won't happen, but if it gives you a chance to beat the daylights or the shit out of a minister of the day, that's life. Well, this is when I did have snapper, And this was my attempt to actually get with Dr. Cullen, but unfortunately he's gone on to be appointed to great salaries by the current national government. We're in opposition, we're Labour, and no one seemingly wants to talk to us. Nothing stays the same in politics. Mangonui, world famous. When we're not in Parliament, I'm your representative as an athlete. That puku and 108 kgs does come in handy when you're playing Pacific Island parliamentarian teams, and they have been known to include that other great unknown politician, Junior Tonu'u. When you need to de-stress, take your darling shooting. Be wary, very wary though, when she can drop a deer at 800 yards away, that even the MP couldn't see with something that looks like it's out of Star Trek. But the venison was very sweet, but the message was clear. Don't muck with me, honey. Look, we're about to go to Argentina as your representatives to play parliamentary rugby. Number one, it's geopolitically important, diplomatically exceedingly important. Argentina has so much to recommend itself for the future trade relationships in New Zealand. I can see new markets opening up. I will come back after having eaten their steaks and tried their wines exceedingly large. This is to show that all political careers end in failure. John Tamihere, Calvin Davis, Stu Nash, Shane Jones, Dover Samuels, Ricky Barker and Willie Jackson. We do have egos, but none of it actually works out as we anticipated. But folks, you've got to love us for trying. If you think you're any better, have a go your bloody self. Now, this is just to show that I'm capable of lining a target up and knocking it off. In actual fact, I shot a deer through the gut, and unfortunately it was Bambi. It was Hapu with another baby. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I did put it in the hangi. Yeah, and when you're bored on the East Coast, that's no Kokore, a beautiful chapel on the East Coast, and you go looking for the voters and you say, kia ora, I'm Shane Jones from the Labour Party. I'm here to sort of get your vote and explain how things are improving for you through my efforts in Parliament. They send out 2 horses. And that's all I found there. And actually, when you go to the marae, born and bred in the far north of Te Aupōuri, this is me hiding at the back of my mother, my father, and my cousins in a marae in Te Kau, because I just finished a monstrous feed, largely the size of those 2 pigs I was cutting up. So I'm hiding my puku from you. But I'm from the very far north. And this is me when I was idealistic. I was going to change the world. I was making great speeches in the mid to late 80s, and gosh, I had a lot going on. I had that hirsute sort of wild-looking manner about me, dodging Titawhai Harawira and Hone Harawira and trying to sound like the reason face, and shit, look at happening now. I tell you, who's the real Puku of Parliament, me or Jerry Brownlee? Kia ora tātou.